Growing your own strawberries from runners is really easy, and today I'm going to show you some tips on how to make it even easier. G'day there, I'm Dana from Pewakaga Valley Homestead. Today I'm going to be planting up my strawberry runners and I'm going to bring you along for the journey. We have this really massive strawberry bed. I think we've got around 400 strawberry plants along here. But I have discovered that some of them just haven't survived, and we've also got a whole lot of ground up in the food forest that I would like to grow some more strawberries in. Now, would you believe these 400 strawberries cost me absolutely nothing? I managed to actually grow all of these strawberries from runners that I got for free from someone else that I know that had also had a decent sized strawberry patch. Most of the strawberries that are worth growing, the nice ones, the tasty ones, the juicy ones, sorry it's really glary out here, are all hybrid plants. So that means that both their parents were actually different. They cross-pollinate really easily, and then they've been grown from seed. And then they pick the best plants from those and then take clones from those to become a commercial variety. So if you want to grow strawberries from seed, you can, but what you'll end up with is not the same as the parent plant because they do cross-pollinate really easily. Cross-pollinating easy is really, really good if you're wanting to try out in new varieties or come up with a variety of your own, but it's not so great if you're trying to grow stuff from seed sustainably. So the upside to strawberries is actually they send out clones of themselves, which are the runners, and so a runner will grow exactly true to type as the parent plant. So it's literally a genetic clone of the adult, which is a great way of really quickly replicating. Strawberries are naturally a ground cover in a forest environment, so they will just spread and form a thick mat really quickly. If you're trying to grow your strawberries obviously for fruit, however, having them too close together means that you'll usually end up with problems with mold or other fungal issues, and they just don't fruit as well. So you'll often find people will grow their strawberries on a weed mat like what we've done, which keeps them separate and gives them plenty of space as well as keeping the weed pressure down. The other upside to it here is that it's black, so it helps soak up some of the heat, which we don't have a huge amount of. The only downside to growing them on a weed mat is when they send out their runners, they've got nowhere to put their roots down. So that means that we have to sort of intervene a little bit if we're wanting to get runners off them and find a way of getting them to grow better. One of the upsides to what we've done is we have got tyres around a whole lot of them. These are actually here to help hold down the weed mat because the wind we get here is absolutely horrendous. But the upside to the tyres is that they usually will hold water around in part of them. And so for the plants that are growing in the middle of these tyres, they've sent their runners out into the water and they've grown roots beautifully. For the runners that haven't yet sent out roots, there's some things you can do. I'm going to pull this one off here because I don't actually want it. This is a alpine strawberry and they are incredibly prolific. I hope you can see there. This one, they send out their runners and they have like this little callus on the bottom down here that will eventually sprout the roots. If you're wanting this to grow roots, you leave it attached to the parent plant obviously. And then all you need to do is put it into a little pot with some good quality compost. Strawberries are really heavy feeders. They're used to living in the bottom of a forest in that rich forest floor compost sort of ground. So give them something with plenty of goodness in it. And if this is still attached to the mother plant, and you just sit this on the ground and tuck the plant into the top. I'll show you how it goes with one that's actually attached to the plant. Now you can see from this plant down here, it's trying to send out all these runners, but they're going just on top of this weed mat, which means they've got no dirt to grow their roots. So you'll find that they grow these calluses down here without actually putting the roots out until they hit something that they can actually root into. See this runner train here? The runner that's closest to the parent plant, which is over here, is going to be your biggest, strongest plant. These ones will grow, but you're actually better off removing them and just letting this first one grow. You'll get a bigger, stronger plant, and it's the one getting most of the nutrients from the parent plant. So what I do is I snap off these other runners. They just go in the compost. And then with my container of compost here, I just sit it up on the bank and tuck the plant into it. You just give it a bit of a shove, put some compost over the top of its runner and sit it like this, with a wee bit of a water, and then I leave it for a couple of weeks just sitting like that, and it will really quickly grow roots. Once it's well rooted, all you need to do is snip this runner off here and you've got your potted plant ready to go. And what I'm actually going to be doing is potting up some of the ones that have sent roots out already. If your strawberries are growing in ground, you'll find that they'll probably already have the beginnings of some roots as well. And if you've got them on plastic or on weed mat or hanging, they probably won't have roots like this one has. So I'm going to leave that there. It will grow some roots and it will be ready to plant up in a couple of weeks. At this tire here, it has sent out a whole lot of runners, and they're sitting in the edge under here, and they have grown a massive root system just sitting in the water. Which the upside to this for me is I can actually just snip that off and go and put it straight into the food forest as it is without having to pot it up in the meantime. However, what I am going to do is pot these up because I find that I can look after them better if they're closer to the house. So because it's got already such fantastic roots on it, I don't need to keep it attached to the mother plant. So you can either break them off or use some scissors or whatever, cut them off. It's a wee bit of alpine strawberry deciding to take over there. So all these wonderful roots, they are quite tender if they've grown in water, and I'm just going to pull that rotten leaf off there as well. So you do have to be a wee bit more gentle with them. So I use these little 4-inch pots, 10 centimetre pots. I find them pretty much perfect for a strawberry plant to grow in. One's got a label in it already. And I have some compost here. You can just use normal dirt. You'll find the strawberries benefit quite a lot from the nutrition in a good compost mix. You can buy proper strawberry mix, which is slightly more acidic than your normal bog standard potting mix. So if you are going for a bought potting mix, probably a strawberry mix would be the way to go. So I just make a wee hole there, little space for these roots to tuck into. Tuck the roots in as best you can. Try not to leave any of them exposed to the air, because if they're exposed to the air they'll die. Well, the roots will die. The actual plant will probably continue to survive. And then top it up with a little more compost. You want to firm your mixture around and try and get the air out from around the roots. Small air gaps is good, massive air gaps is bad. So the compost is nice and loose and fluffy, so it will naturally have small air gaps, but you want that contact with all the roots that are in there. So there we go, a free strawberry plant, which is how I have ended up with so many of them. Each plant will usually send off sort of 3, 4, sometimes even 5 runners, and then every single runner will usually grow a couple of plants. However, as I said before, the best, strongest ones are the ones closest to the mother plant. So I usually will sit these in my tunnel house over winter and water them a couple of times a week, and by the time it comes to early spring, most of them are well and truly ready to be planted out. They're nice and big and full. Some of them are even starting to flower by that stage. If you've got runners that are flowering now, like when you're first potting them up, flick the flowers off, because you want the plants to be focused on growing roots, not on growing berries. Some of these have been really prolific growing their runners. And see this one here, they've mixed two together. This little one is what we call an alpine strawberry, and they're like the wild strawberries. They spread like wildfire, and the kids love them. They've got these tiny little berries, sort of the predecessor to the commercial berry, but they're very, very sweet. That one's not quite ripe, but anyway, but quite seedy. Really, really good on the ground as a ground cover, because they form a really thick mat within a couple of years it'll just form a really thick mat. I am, however, trying to make this whole area predominantly the more commercial big sweet varieties, so these wee fellas I'm not actually planting out here. Now you don't want the dirt to go up over the crown either. The crown is this bit in the middle here where all the leaves come out of. This piece here, if you cover that up with dirt and the dirt gets in the top, it'll rot out the crown. So just make sure that your strawberries are planted just a little bit proud, so they're just sticking up just that little bit. These also make really good gifts for people. You can either do it in the springtime or in the fall, just whenever your plants have sent out runners. If you leave it to springtime and they've been on ground, you'll find that the runners are really well rooted and ready to go as other plants. If you're doing it in fall or autumn like I am, they're just beginning to set themselves up as new plants, so they will need babied along for a little while until their root system develops. But they make really great gifts, and it's a really brilliant way of just replicating what you already have for free. When it comes time to actually get your strawberries in the ground, make sure you loosen the soil well, add plenty of organic material, either some well rotted manure or some compost, and loosen that soil up so it's nice and fluffy to help get those strawberries well established. And then give them a good water and a mulch with either some pine needles or some wood mulch or some straw or some leaf litter, something to help to keep the moisture in and to help those strawberries feel at home. They do usually grow on the forest floor, and so they're used to that really rich, slightly acidic, loose, fluffy, leaf mulchy sort of soil. That is the best way to get the best start for your strawberry plants. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, hit the thumbs up button and maybe consider subscribing to our channel. We bring you videos twice a week on growing and preserving your own food. We'll see you in the next one.